How many people do we see get put in the UFC and looked after? You know, just given easy fights. We see it all the time, don't we? Jai Herbert is not that guy. The closest man in the UFC to beating Ilia Topuria, I'd say. You know what I mean? How close was he with that shot, mate? Yeah, literally.
Sank him. Nobody could have had the baptism into the UFC like you had.
I've got to perform, and I've got to win. And I think this, like I say, pressure builds diamonds, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And that's what I think he's done. It's made me a better fighter.
It would be remiss of me not to ask you about, obviously, Leon. Where's his head at? I mean, I've spoke to him just fleetingly on text, but is he looking good? Is he in that gym? Is he kicking the living daylights out them pads? Is he looking to maybe get rid of some anger?
Yeah, man, he's looking great. You know what I mean? He's always in the gym. You know, training great. I've seen him. Obviously, because we sort of sparring at the same time, kind of the minute. So I've done a few rounds with him, to be honest. And he's always sharp. You always got to have your wits about you when you're sparring Leon.
A lot of British fight fans are obviously excited about what's to come on March the 22nd. Playing his role on March 22nd is the Black Country banger himself, Mr. Jai Herbert. Welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on, man.
Listen, pleasure to have you on. I think a lot of fight fans obviously have come to terms now that whenever Jai Herbert's on the card, it's always going to be super entertaining. You have that style that is must not miss. And obviously this time around against Chris Padilla, you've got another opportunity to perform in front of the British fight fans. I want to talk to you about getting into how are you looking at this particular fight? Because now that you're in the UFC, I remember speaking to you when you first came in, and there were that big reputation as a guy that was putting people over in Cage Warriors and on that regional scene. You come into the UFC, and then you have this momentum, which is stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Where are you at right now that listen, I don't want to call you a veteran, but you are, mate. You know what I mean? You've been here a bit now. You know what I mean? So where are you at now looking at the opportunity that you've got coming into 2025?
Yeah, I really just want to put, like a win streak together, get the momentum going. I feel like, especially in the last fight, I felt like when I was out in Abu Dhabi, I felt like it was normal to me. Or every time before that, everything seemed a bit like surreal. Like you're watching all these fighters on the telly, and then you're literally on the same card as them. You walk around, they're all in the hotel. Everything's all a bit like, it's a bit surreal, like. But I remember that last fight, everything felt normal to me. All the people there, like it was nothing felt like unusual. Like I feel like I belong here, and I really I'm really about to start putting these fights together. Putting some momentum together. And I feel like I really do belong here now.
Well, I've said this to you in the past. Nobody could have had the baptism into the UFC like you had. Like you said, you came with your reputation. People thought, right, okay, Jai Herbert could do a bit. He's now in the UFC. And if you look at the actual starts to your UFC, there was no softy, was there? There was no like, okay, here's an introduction to the UFC, go and show your talents. It was straight in at the deep end. You've got the likes of Trinaldo, who's been there, done it and got the T-shirt. Obviously, you fight Renato Moicano. We know that obviously in that opening run you had Ilia Topuria. It literally was a baptism of fire to get you going. Yeah,
that's what I mean. I mean, like you say, and I feel like I never really got going. You know what I mean? Got started yet? Like you said, straight in at the deep end. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? I don't regret any of it. It's all made me a better fighter, better person. So I'm just happy to be here and still be able to go out there and perform. And I'm just looking forward to it. March the 22nd.
How easy is it to deal with though? Those moments, like, because you go to the UFC, I've no doubt all your mates are on you going, hey, Jai's in the UFC now, we're all flying, everything's great and all this type of stuff. And then you're on the receiving end of obviously some defeats there, mate, which, them within themselves for any fighter are very difficult to deal with. But when you've had that pomp and then you come in and it doesn't get off to the flying start that maybe other people that don't know too much about MMA are expecting, what's that like to deal with when you're sat on your own at home and in your own thoughts?
Yeah, it is. it can be difficult, you know. Like you say, people who ain't got a clue about MMA or fighting sports and don't understand the ins and outs and the ups and downs and stuff. They just, they can, they make their own judgments and stuff, don't they? But it is hard to deal with, especially coming off the back of defeats. Then you've got to go back out there and perform and and get the win, because if you don't, you're out the door. You know what I mean? Because it's a ruthless business.
Yeah.
So it's pressure after pressure, but I feel like this pressure makes me, perform. When I'm under pressure, I've got to perform, and I feel like every fight now I go into, I've got to perform, and I've got to win. And I think this, like I say, pressure builds diamonds, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And that's what I think it's done. It's made me a better fighter.
Well, coming into this one at the weekend, I like what you said at the start of this conversation. Looking to get that a bit of a win streak together, because pre-UFC you've been used to win streaks. You've been used to it.
Yeah.
You've been used to knowing what a win streak does for the climb. As I said, it's all well and good being the entertainer. The fans absolutely love it, don't they? You know what I mean? When it's a Jai Herbert fight, they're all in. But you're in the Jai Herbert business, so therefore you've got to be thinking, right, where am I going now in 2025? And as I look down that resume, mate, right, I personally thought that you were unlucky not to get the decision against Ludovic Klein, which ended up in a draw. I thought you won that particular fight. So therefore, that might have been able to kick on a little bit of momentum. You look at the guys that you've been on the receiving end of a loss. Every single one of them is a legit top contact. I mean, you've even got one guy there that's gone on to win a championship belt already. So we're talking about the elite of the elite elite. You know what level you're at now. And like you've just said there, I noticed that about you in Abu Dhabi when you were out there. You were walking like you belong there now. You belong in the UFC. Did you have maybe a slight bit of imposter syndrome in those early times where you were thinking to yourself, do I belong here?
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I've heard about that before, imposter syndrome. And then, like, being there, actually, like, I felt that. Definitely felt that. But like you say, especially my last fight, I was just like, you know what? I ain't bothered anymore, you know what I mean? I'm just going to go in there and crack on and do me. And, like, I really felt it. And when I went out there, I was just, like, more relaxed. I was more myself. And I just went out and did what I can do. And that's the same energy I'm taking into my next fight, you know what I mean? Just perform how I can perform, you know what I mean? Don't start worrying about, like, thinking about... Just start overthinking things, basically.
Where's that come from? Has something changed? Is something changed personally with your training? Is something just changed, or is it just a maturity thing that you've just got, do you know something? Why am I getting so bothered about it?
Yeah, I think it's just maturity, and I think ever since I went into the UFC, I was like, I put more pressure on myself, and I was like, oh, I've got to level up. I've got to like, everything's got to be 10 times what I'm doing now. It's got to be 10 times more. And I think, like I say, I think I overthinked it all, and I've like forgetting where I came from, like sort of thing, what got me there in the first place. That's the main thing, I think. My style. I'm trying to do other things, trying to be, I'm thinking I've got to change sort of thing to level up. But really, what got me there was my abilities and my style in the first place.
Yeah,
so I sort of went back to sort of that, and I'm just improving my own style. If that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, mate, 100%. It's about enjoyment, isn't it? You know what I mean? What you say now? You're going back on the tools, then you're going back on the scaffolding. Are you bringing it? Are you bringing it all back?
Nah, no chance. No chance.
People will wonder what that reference
that,
is. I mean, when I remember speaking to you, one of the first times was in Cage Warriors, and it's difficult at the start, isn't it, when you're starting out your MMA career, because you've got mouths to feed and a real life job going on during the day. And then you've got your training of an evening and trying to get your training in, scraping around, trying to get fights here, there, and everywhere, and what have you. You had a proper job, didn't you? Up until, I suppose, making that break into the UFC.
Yeah, man. I fully, I was scaffolding full time. Up early hours in the morning, back like late afternoon, straight out training 2-3 hours in the night. Training the weekends. But I had a goal and I had a dream, and I weren't going to be stopped. You know what I mean? I knew I was gonna get to the UFC, so I carried it on. A lot of people would have been like, "Nah, man, I can't do this." I hear some people as well talking about, "Oh, I've got a full-time job, so it's hard to train and that." And I'm thinking, like you're talking to the wrong person. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm like just going, yeah. I'm thinking, all right,
you had a full-time job and you were champion in Cage Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. So I made it happen. You know what I mean? It's got to make it happen, yeah. you want something, you just got to make it happen. Simple as.
I think, obviously, you're in a fantastic gym there at Renegade with some great people around, and I think anybody that spent any time in that particular gym knows that there's champions. Obviously, you've been there at the top with Cage Warriors. Leon's done what he's done with it with the UFC, but there's also a lot of younger guys that are hungry with big aspirations, trying to come through and what have you. And they'll be now living the life that you had maybe 5-10 years ago. You know what I mean? So therefore, they can see and speak to you about those particular things and take that inspiration, because it hasn't changed. The game hasn't changed. There's still people out there that are obviously big dreams in the world of MMA that do have to have a proper 9-to-5 in order to live, keep themselves going. So obviously when they get to speak to you, mate, and I'm sure that do you find that enjoyable now that you can pass that knowledge down? I keep calling you a vet. You're not a vet. You're still a young man, mate. But you know what I mean? That you can pass that knowledge down to the young people.
Yeah, I feel like I do give. I can see it as well. Like when they talk to me now, and I tell them like when I started, when I got to the UFC, like you know, you can see that I still give them hope.
Yeah.
You can see it in some people, definitely, because like when they talk to me, like when they talk to me, and I'm telling them like how I did it and at what age I started, and you know when I got to the UFC, and that it definitely gives them hope. You know what I mean? It gives them belief. The belief's the main thing, I think. So I'm glad that I'll give them that belief and that inspiration still. And they still see me doing it now. They don't see me slowing down. They're like, you know what I mean? I'm still athletic and at my age and at this point in my career, they're like, you know what I mean? They're like, bloody hell. And so they're still like, it gives them inspiration.
Mate, you're getting better. And that's the beautiful thing about
Exactly,
martial arts,
yeah,
isn't it?
getting
Do you know what I mean? You can, it doesn't matter how old, it doesn't matter how far into your career you are, constantly, every single fight, as long as it's a learning process and you're showing those improvements next time out, which you're absolutely doing, that's the key thing. Fighting in front of home fans, mate, it's not a new thing for you. You've done it on a few occasions now.
Yeah.
But that must be some buzz. You know what I mean? When you can... I've no doubt you're inundated, your phone's ringing off the hook with people wanting tickets to come down to the event and what have you, which can be a bit of a pain, I've no doubt, when you're training. But the actual night, when you're walking out...
Yeah, I mean, the ticket thing, this time around, I'll just let my missus do it, man. She sorted it all out. I'm telling you, it was because, pain me
They're
off.
all after it, mate. They all want a piece of the pie. This is what happens when you stick you on a main card, mate. You know what I mean? It's a big show.
I know, yeah. Yeah, she sorted it all out. Fair play to her. So... I'll have to take her out somewhere nice after the fight. She's on about going to Milan for the weekend yesterday, so I'll have to take her there, to be honest.
Mate, you need to get a win bonus then. You need to be chucking hands. It must be some buzz, though, to walk out in front of home fans. You know what I mean? And being that guy that they're all cheering and going wow for.
Yeah, it is a buzz, man. I feel like you got to control it, though, man. You got to keep your head, because sometimes it can make you a bit too overexcited, if you know what I mean. So you still got to keep your head, and I think that comes with maturity. So I've learned that now. You still got to keep your eye on the ball, you know what I mean. You still got to go out and get the win. Don't be reckless. So that's the thing. But yeah, it is a buzz in front of the fans, you know what I mean. Especially when you're at the back in the UFC. Just before you walk out, you're right by the obviously, there's like, they're all, because it's massive into the O2, they're all like over the archway when you're walking out, and they're all like screaming, with the points and that, and if you just like, going mad, go on, Black Country, my guy, go on, Joy. It's like, you're trying to get in the zone, but you're like, whoa, it's good though, it's class, man, to be honest.
What do you know about Padilla? He's only been here for a short time in the UFC at the top level. He's only had a couple. Yes, he's won the pair of them, but what have you made of him?
He's a pretty good all-rounder, to be honest. I mean, the fights before the UFC, he looks like he was more of a grappler, more of a wrestler. Got a few wins by rear naked choke, ground and pound.
Yeah.
But like as you see him in the UFC, he's like to use more striking, more like a Thai style. So yeah, he's all-rounder. So you got to be ready wherever, you know what I mean, in the striking, in the wrestling, in the jiu-jitsu. So, like I'm always ready, well prepared in all aspects. So, yeah.
Have you done the whole of this camp in Birmingham? Have you? Because I know that obviously a few of you like to fly out to places like Thailand and various places like that. But have you stayed at home?
Thailand, man. I got no chance with my kids in at home. You know, my missus, I got to look after them.
See, this comes back to
You know
our
what I'm saying?
conversation before about real life. You know what I mean? You've got to
Real
manage it
life, man. I'll tell
properly.
you. Thailand, no chance.
Mate,
Nah,
your Instagram must be wild, man, because you see all fighters that come through your gym and various things like that, and they're out in Bangtao, they're out in the PI. You think you lads are having a laugh, man. You're having a laugh.
I know. I don't know.
I've got to do the school run in a minute.
To be honest, the only place I've been up to Liverpool a couple of times, sparring up there at Next Gen, and that's been
Excellent.
good. Just mixing it up, you know what I mean? Just being a bit like going to different gym, being a bit uncomfortable, you know what I mean?
Yeah, getting a different look. I get it.
Completely. Different look, you know what I mean? That's been good. But yeah, like I say, most of it you're doing it in Birmingham and Wolverhampton. Got a great team there, Renegades, you know, great coaches. So yeah, getting a good rounds in, good sparring in, good grappling, everything.
Mate, I've got an idea for you, right? Seeing as that your missus wants this trip to Milan, what you need to do is say, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll go to Thailand. Now you think you see. Fly off, get some good work in with the guys on the mats there, and then she can do whatever she wants to do.
Not a bad idea, mate. Not a bad idea.
There you go.
I might have to use that.
Upstairs for thinking, pal. It would be remiss of me not to ask you about obviously Leon. Where's his head at? I mean, I've spoke to him just fleetingly on text, but is he looking good? Is he in that gym? Is he kicking the living daylights out them pads? Is he looking to maybe get rid of some anger?
Yeah, man, he's looking great. You know what I mean? He's always in the gym. You know, training great. I've seen him obviously because we sort of sparring at the same time, kind of in a minute. So I've done a few rounds with him, to be honest. And he's always sharp. You always got to have your wits about you when you're sparring, Leon. That's when you got to have your wits about you. You know what I mean? It's good though. It's good for you. It's good because it makes you like switch on. You know what I mean? Like you can't be leaving any gaps or making any mistakes because you know he'll catch you with something. You know what I was going to say?
Yeah.
Not like not
trying
to kill you, but like you got to be switched on. You know what I was going to say? But yeah, he's been looking great.
To finish on you then, mate. What's the activity level plan for you this year? Last time we only saw you once, didn't we? So what's the crack, man?
Yeah.
How many times can we see you this year?
Yeah, man. I'll be looking to. I'll be grateful to get like 3 fights in if I could this year. You know what I mean? Because we're in March, so middle like August, and then towards the end of the year, that'd be great. 100%. I'd love that if I could.
Well, if you could, mate, if you could do that activity level by the end of the year, if everything goes to plan, we could be genuinely talking about a ranking then in the weight division, couldn't we?
That is the plan, you know what I mean? That is the next goal, to get into that rankings, man. Top 15. Because I know, like, I'm like two fights away from there, getting to there. You know what I mean? Because like some of the opponents that I've had, like they're in the top 15 and that and everything, and they're pushing on that, like you say, Klein and that.
Well, if you look at, I mean, Faris Ziam, right? He fought a couple of weeks ago. He looked good. He looked really good a couple of weeks ago. Your fight with him was really close. It was a razor tight fight. So you must be looking at them thinking, I know what level I'm at. So, and he's very close to being in that top 15 conversation, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I know that I'm, a couple of fights away from that, and I'm going to be there. You know what I mean? That is the next goal. That's what my head's at now.
Listen, I'll let you go off and get your breakfast, mate, because I know you've got a full day of training, rocking and rolling. Try and keep the missus' expectations low when it comes to Milan. If you knock this kid out in London, mate, she's going to be thinking 50 G's. We're off, baby. There you go. We're off.
Gucci store and everything, mate. Louis Vuitton. Oh, my God.
Waxed on one bag like that, mate. Easy work, gone.
For real.
Listen, all the best. Stay fit, stay healthy. Looking forward to see you do your thing on March 22nd, buddy.
Respect, brother. Thank you.
Top guy, Jai Herbert, out on March 22nd. He is one of them characters that I think a lot of fight fans appreciate, Jai Herbert, because it's either you or him when he steps inside that octagon, and he fights like that. He's always fought like that from the lower scene at Cage Warriors, and now he steps into the UFC. I was just saying to him there, Brent, you couldn't have wished for a worse baptism of fire when he jumps in there and he's fighting the Trinaldos of this world, the Ilia Topurias of this world, and all that in your first 4 fights. It really has been a very hard run for Jai, but he seems to now have just felt like he is now a UFC fighter.
The closest man in the UFC to beating Ilia Topuria, I'd say. You know what I mean? How close was he with that shot, mate? Yeah, literally. Literally the closest man. Always been a massive fan of Jai Herbert, working man's hero. Do you know what I mean? on the graft, on the building site, gets his big chance, fights the best of the best of the best. How many people do we see get put in the UFC and looked after? You know, just given easy fights. We see it all the time, don't we? Jai Herbert is not that guy. He's the complete opposite. He's been given the hardest roads you've seen. Won some, lost some, but he always puts his heart on his sleeve, and I'm a fan of his style.
Yeah, fingers crossed he can get the job done on March 22nd.